51 today under sunshine, 60 for the low tonight, a few clouds and sun tomorrow, and a high all the way up to 85.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended.
The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. We can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. In case you've been on social media, in case you saw something about shots fired near the White House, let me just give you an update on that. Shots were fired about 0.8 of a mile away from the White House, the 15th and Independence Avenue area, close to Washington Monument. Secret Service, law enforcement shot one individual. There was a brief precautionary lockdown enacted for the White House area. For the president is safe inside. The lockdown is now lifted, situation under control. And developing story, we'll let you know what we find out when the Secret Service has something to say about whoever was shot. Now, having said that, there is an update already from Susan Crabtree. Susan Crabtree, of course, national political correspondent from Real Clear Politics. Secret Service uniformed division officers shot a man they thought might have a gun this afternoon before the president's press conference. When the Secret Service officers confronted the man, it went sideways and they ended up shooting him, according to sources in the Secret Service community speaking to Real Clear Politics. All Secret Service officers are safe, but the man is down and in custody and did have a gun. Now, another update. Secret Service has issued a statement regarding the uniformed division officers shooting an armed man near the Washington Monument this afternoon. Exact location where the shooting occurred is still unclear. Again, big thanks, big hat tip to Susan Crabtree, Real Clear Politics. And here's what the U.S. Secret Service Office of Communications is saying. U.S. Secret Service personnel are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting at 15th Street and Independence Avenue in Washington, D.C. One individual was shot by law enforcement. Condition is currently unknown. Please avoid the area as emergency crews are responding. So, those are the updates on all of that. Now, speaking of the Secret Service, bless her heart, I love Judge Jeanine Pirro, now U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Jeanine Pirro. However, I think it's entirely possible that she's doing something that she's committing a mistake that a lot of us have made at some point in our lives. And that is the mistake of trusting the wrong people. And I'll tell you why I say this. Because just like Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, who keeps on saying, oh, the Secret Service did a bang-up job. They did a great job. When the video shows you that 10 of 11 uniformed people, not all of them Secret Service, but a lot of them were looking the wrong way when the alleged would-be presidential assassin started running through the lobby of the Washington White House Hilton. Oh, they did a great job. So now you got Jeanine Pirro reiterating that, of course, it was the bad guy, Cole Allen, who shot the Secret Service officer. Now, the other day when she said that in the first place, she said, well, the Secret Service officer didn't shoot himself. And, of course, we're sitting here going, Judge Jeanine, bless your heart. Nobody said the Secret Service officer shot himself. When you talk about friendly fire, that, and young Tommy, I know you weren't in the military, but still, you're not nearly as aged as I am. So I think your neurons are probably firing a little bit more quickly than mine are. When you talk about friendly fire, I don't think you're suggesting that a guy accidentally shoots himself. Friendly fire is when one of your guys accidentally shoots you, not you yourself. I mean, anyway, so Judge Jeanine is on with Jake Tapper, who, by the way, is not one of us. He's not a good guy. Jake Tapper's a bad guy. Jake Tapper, CNN, has a question for Judge Jeanine. And again, I know she wouldn't understand this because she's from New York and we're in the South, but I just can't say bless her heart about Judge Jeanine often enough. Because again, I believe she means well, but, well, you know what they say. The road to Hardee's is paved with good intentions. Here's Judge Jeanine.
Have you been able to determine yet which gun actually hit the Secret Service agent, and will you present that evidence to the public?
Well, we have been able to determine which gun it was. First of all, there's video of the defendant shooting at the Secret Service agent. There is also the agent who will tell you himself that he was shot at and then he returned the fire. But more importantly, Jake, is the fact that we now can establish that a pellet that came from the buckshot from the defendant's Mossberg pump-action shotgun was intertwined with the fiber of the vest of the Secret Service officer.
So it's definitively his bullet.
It is definitively his bullet. He hit at that Secret Service agent. He had every intention to kill him and anyone who got on his way to killing the President of the United States. This was a premeditated, violent act calculated to take down the president and anyone who was in the line of fire.
Now, look, I have no doubt that it was a premeditated attack to take down the president and anyone else who's in the line of fire. The guy already said he wanted to kill a lot of Trump administration people. Got it. But, I mean, hang on. Wait a minute. She's saying that a pellet from Cole Allen's Mossberg rifle was found in the thread of the Secret Service guy's bulletproof vest. Okay, well now, if that's the case, why is it that I can't find anywhere any confirmation that there's been a ballistics test released? I mean, what do you need? If that's the dealio, if that's really actually what's going on here, then why not just release the ballistics test and shut up knuckleheads like me? Now, here's where we might be able to get some bipartisan support. Now, think about it. Just work with me on this. Judge Jeanine is a well-known lifelong conservative Republican, okay? On the other hand, there are a lot of liberal Democrats, especially in Little Rock, especially in the Heights, Hillcrest, whatever, who've been wanting to shut up a knucklehead like me for years. You see where I'm going with this? So if Judge Jeanine implores the Secret Service, come on, let's just release the ballistics test. There's some fire-breathing, bomb-throwing, knuckle-dragging, right-wing former DJ impersonating a talk show host down in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the libs want to shut him up. Frankly, I want to shut him up too, but for maybe different reasons. So come on. Ballistics test. What you got? I mean, this is just pitiful, in my humble opinion. And you're entitled to it. Now, here we go. Judge Janine and the new Secretary of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullin, are two of many big-name folks out there who have been saying that the Secret Service was just phenomenal. You know, they just couldn't have done a better job than they did. Well, anybody remember Jason Chaffetz? Conservative Republican congressman out of Utah. Used to be the chair of the House Oversight Committee. He's got just a slightly different way of looking at it, and we got some audio coming up from him as the Doc Washburn show continues. By the way, did I mention nobody else gives you this stuff? Nobody else puts out for you the evidence I'm putting out for you, especially this time of day, if you catch my drift, and I think you might. And that's why you're listening, and that's why I appreciate you. You're the greatest. More coming up straight ahead. The Doc Washburn show continues. Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1, The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a trillion-dollar triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Advantage Gold, America's #1 precious metals company, is sounding the alarm that a storm is coming and that now is the time to diversify your portfolio before it's too late. That's why we're offering an emergency gold and silver protection kit valued at $49, absolutely free for anyone who calls today at 800-900-8000. This kit includes critical information for investors with a retirement account seeking to own physical gold and silver, but want to do it tax and penalty free. Advantage Gold has helped investors protect and secure their wealth with physical gold and silver since 2014. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 and we'll rush your emergency gold and silver kit plus a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. See how gold and silver can help you protect and secure your wealth with the help of Advantage Gold. Results vary. Consult your tax advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
In the world of generators, trust, not marketing, defines success. Northside Power is a trusted name when the power goes out. We're ranked #1 in generator sales, service, and installation. No gimmick and no side hustle. No matter your home's needs, Northside Power installs, service, and monitors generators 24/7. When the power goes out, excuses don't keep your lights on. Experience does. That's Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do. It's all we do.
Hey, this is Doc Washburn. I'm excited to be back on the air in Little Rock. I'm on 4 to 6 p.m. weekdays right here on 101.1 The Answer. And you never know who will be calling in. I did not smoke cigars with that young woman, Miss Lewinsky. Not yet, Bill. The Doc Washburn Show returns to Little Rock thanks to Northside Power, Night Service Company, and the Lord who opened the door, 4 to 6 p.m. weekdays on 101.1 The Answer. .1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. So you can sound off, talk back, 501-401-1011. Yeah, Mark Wayne Mullen says the Secret Service was just phenomenal. Judge Janine Pirro, the Secret Service was just great. Well, our old buddy Susan Crabtree, national political correspondent for Real Clear Politics. Well, she's got her own podcast because everybody's got a podcast. Oh, guys, children's got podcasts. And she had, man, don't you love the way that chair sounds? Let me do it again. WD-40, what's that? Anyway, look, you have to take whatever opportunity you have for humor, no matter how feeble it might be. You know what I'm saying to you, young Tommy. Young Tommy, of course, is our producer on the other side of the glass. No, I don't think they think you're my imaginary friend. I mean, I'm not hitting the buttons. Anyway, so Susan Crabtree had former Oversight Committee, House Oversight Committee chair, former U.S. Congressman, Republican out of Utah, Jason Chaffetz on the podcast, her podcast, and well, former Congressman Chaffetz had a little bit different way of looking at what happened Saturday night a week ago at the White House Correspondents' Dinner at the Washington Hinckley. I mean, the Washington Hilton. Well, they refer to it the nickname Hinckley because John Hinckley shot Reagan as he was walking out all those years ago. Anyway, here's cut one.
You have the Secret Service director at the White House Correspondents' Dinner saying, "Oh, it's perfect. Perfect? Are you kidding? What if there were 12 guys with guns that decided to rush that point?" I love that still graphic I've seen. There are 11 agents and officers there, and it's a little rough to count the 3 TSA people there. They're to just go through the magnetometer. But you have 11 uniformed people with badges. 10 of them weren't paying attention. The one guy is paying attention. Their story, which I'm not 100% believing at this point, is the gunman comes in, fires a shot, hits the guy, and then returned fire.
Oh! Okay, so maybe it's not just the knuckle-dragging, fire-breathing, bomb-throwing, right-wing, blowhard on 101.1 The Answer, who's not accepting the official narrative that the bad guy actually shot the Secret Service agent. Jason Chaffetz was an actual congressman, you know? He was the actual chair of the House Oversight Committee, and he's not buying it. Again, Judge Janine. Again, Mark Wayne Mullen. Again, the whole Washington Republican establishment. Where's the ballistics test? All right. Former Oversight Committee Chair Jason Chaffetz on Secret Services. Cut 2, please.
Curran's talking about how great the training was. Are you kidding me? The training was so good. This guy happened to trip. Otherwise, he probably would have could be able to continue to go forward. Like I said, what if there were 12 of them? And you watch. For Sean Curran to say it was perfect and to say that the training was so great. Here's the question, and it may take years to get there. How much training did that guy, the officer that was shot or returned fire, how much training did he actually get?
Now, that question is not just rhetorical. And I'm telling you, you're just not going to like the answer. Oh, man. Former Oversight Committee Chair Jason Chaffetz on Secret Services. Cut 3, please.
Because one of the most stunning things that I found through my investigation is that the average Secret Service person in their annual training, how much time do you think the average Secret Service person spends in training? It's 30 minutes per year. That's the average. Now, you look at the snipers, they spend about 25% of their time in training. You look at the CERT team, they spend more time. But you look at the mass, it's 30 minutes per year.
Buddy. Now, I will say this about the 3 TSA agents, the 3 female TSA agents that everybody has been launching on. It's half the people launching on don't realize they're TSA agents, think they're Secret Service. There were 3 TSA agents who immediately, when they saw the guy run past them, dropped to their knees and crawled around a corner to get away from everything. They weren't armed. So say what you will about the rest of the law enforcement, the rest of the Secret Service, who seemed totally hapless, totally unprepared. But the TSA agents, they're like, okay, I don't have a gun. I don't think I signed on for this. I want to get away from it. So, once I found that out, I'm like, okay, all right. I'll give him some grace. Fox's Mike Emanuel, great reporter, was on the Fox News channel with Sandra Smith and Larry Kudlow today. And he was talking about the fact that the federal judge now has already apologized to the defendant who's charged with trying to kill the president. So that was kind of weird. We got Mike Emanuel says, "Judge, apologize. Cut 1, please."
Judge Zia Farrakwi apologized to suspect Cole Allen for the treatment he's received so far while he's been behind bars. He's been put on suicide watch by the Department of Corrections, and the judge was asking why.
Okay, look. I know that in America, people are considered innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. I know in America, everybody's got constitutional rights. Bill Shipley, Shipwrecked Crew, who represented a bunch of January 6th defendants, said that Judge Farrakwi actually even apologized to one of his clients who'd been in solitary confinement for months. He's like, that's just the way he is. Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, his parents were also came here from Pakistan, so maybe that's not just the way he is. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have more Fox News Channel's Mike Emanuel's reporting on this judge and his concerns about the constitutional rights of the defendants. And then we'll eventually even have some response from Sandra Smith and Larry Kudlow. Because Kudlow almost blows a gasket, if I may use an automotive term at present company, as just as an analogy. But, the idea that a judge will bend over backwards to keep from maybe a guilty plea, which they might get someday, being overturned on some kind of technicality. But his parents are from Pakistan. More coming up, Doc Washburn Show, 101.1, The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. military says it fired on Iranian forces and sank 6 small boats as it moved to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The United Arab Emirates, a key American ally, said it had come under attack from Iran on Monday. It was the first such attack on the UAE since a fragile ceasefire took hold in early April. The Supreme Court has restored broad access to the abortion pill mifepristone, blocking a ruling that had threatened to upend one of the main ways abortion is provided across the nation. The order issued Monday allows women seeking abortions to obtain the pill at pharmacies or through the mail without an in-person visit to a doctor. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 557 points. The Nasdaq dropped 46. More details at srnnews.com.
Hey, if you're hearing my voice, chances are you're either worried about a parent living alone or you are that parent. And you know your family worries about you too. Either way, there's a company that finally got senior safety right. Connected Caregiver. Connected Caregiver is everything you knew about alert devices, fall detection, emergency button, GPS, reimagined for today. There's a small wearable that alerts your family's phone the moment something happens. Inside your home, discrete sensors, no cameras, no microphones, just motion sensors have you covered even when you're not wearing it. No movement for hours, your loved ones will know. For the kids, you go from hoping everything's okay to knowing it is. And for you, you stay in your home on your terms while giving your precious family the peace of mind they've been asking for. That's not losing independence, that's keeping it. Visit ccgoffer.com to see if you qualify for a free device. It takes 2 minutes. That's ccgoffer.com, ccgoffer.com.
When someone nearby searches for what you offer, are they finding you or your competitor? Salem Media owns local search. Call 501-404-6535 and take your turf back. That's 501-404-6535 to own the neighborhood.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. The craziest thing was believing that your dad knew everything. So as a dad, you felt like you had to know everything. You had to get everything right. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then, it kind of starts to work itself out. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com. 101.1. The answer. There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1. The answer.
The answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. Sound off the talk back, 501-401-1011. So right before the bottom of the hour news, in case you're just tuning in, we had the first clip from former Oversight Committee Chair Jason Chaffetz. No, wait a minute. We played all that. I know, young Tommy, that is evidence I'm losing my mind. I apologize. Yeah, we played all that. Right before the bottom of the hour break, we had Fox News Channel's Mike Emanuel talking about Judge, how do you say the guy's name? Faruqi? Apologizing to the defendant? The would-be presidential assassin? What, the third or fourth attempt? And, most of us are like, hey, look, we realize the defendant's innocent until proven guilty, or presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We all know what he wanted to do. But anyway, and everybody's got constitutional rights and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think the judge is thinking this one through. So let's go with Fox's Mike Emanuel says judge apologized. Cut 2, please.
An attorney for the government said that he was put on suicide watch because he told FBI agents the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner attack that he didn't expect to survive. And his language suggested that he really was not expecting to survive his trip to Washington, D.C., and the ultimate incident where he allegedly showed up with a weapon to try and assassinate President Trump. He's been charged with that crime, but the judge very concerned about his constitutional rights, saying the defendant has requested a Bible, has requested meetings with his legal team, and that has not been allowed. He's been put in restrictive 24-hour lockup with no windows in a padded room without an opportunity to get out for recreation. And so...
Wait. Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the firmament or the brightest bulb in the drawer. So when they're saying we put him solitary because he said the night that we arrested him, he didn't expect to survive the event, that would suggest maybe part of his going after Trump and other people. He's thinking, I'm committing suicide by cop. Okay, that's number one. Number two, he's requested a Bible. He needs one of those just like the rest of us do. Even though, the rest of us haven't entertained even fantasies of killing somebody, much less try to go through with it. Yep. But he needs a Bible. Get him a Bible. But the thing that kind of made me go, wait, what? Is the judge is saying that Cole Thomas Allen hasn't been allowed out of solitary to be able to do any exercise. Okay, now let's think this through. You're talking about a guy who's charged with trying to kill Trump and who knows who else there at the dinner. The vice president, Marco Rubio, bunch of liberal reporters, whoever. And you, Judge Farrakhan, or whatever your name is, don't understand why he hasn't been allowed out in the yard to kind of mingle with other prisoners to get some exercise. Oh, boy. Come on, man. Seriously. No, I know people aren't legally allowed to have weapons. Why did I put an H in that? Aren't legally allowed to have weapons in prison. But, I mean, sometimes where there's a will, there's a way. This may shock you, especially producer young Tommy, but people have been murdered in prison before. And not just because, a strong guy strangles somebody with his bare hands, They figured out ways to stab other prisoners. And the judge is like, well, why wouldn't you let him out in the prison yard to get some exercise, get some fresh air, sunshine. Well, there might be a reason. I mean, do you think even his court-appointed public defender would be going, okay, Judge, I was with you right until that. Let's see. It's just crazy. You run across this stuff. All right. Fox's Mike Emanuel says, Judge apologized. Cut 3, please.
The judge making it clear to the Department of Corrections that he wants answers by tomorrow morning about exactly what the housing determination will be made for the suspect in this case, out of grave concern about his constitutional rights, and that apology issued near the end of the hearing. And so quite a moment just moments ago in federal court. Bottom line, the Department of Corrections said they wanted to make sure that he survived, that this is a high-profile case, and all involved acknowledged it is a high-profile case. But again, the judge concerned about the treatment he's gotten since he was arrested after the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting incident.
Judge concerned about the treatment he's gotten since he was arrested. at the White House Correspondents' Dinner event. Is there any evidence that the guys who arrested him beat the living daylights out of him for wanting to shoot people? But you're concerned about how he's been treated. I mean, earlier, former Congressman Jason Chaffetz said the average Secret Service agent only gets about 30 minutes of training per year. But at some point, apparently somebody told him it doesn't matter how bad the crime or the attempted crime is. Once you got him in custody, you can't just beat the living daylights out of him. Because see, that right there, that would be the natural tendency of a lot of folks, unless they were told, well, we don't want to get you in trouble. Don't want to get me in trouble. What are you talking about? Well, once you got him in custody, you're not really legally allowed to just beat the living daylights out of him. Now, if they're resisting arrest, well, have some fun. But, you got a German Shepherd, all bets are off. But anyway, I digress. We got one more. Fox's Mike Emanuel with Sandra Smith and Larry Kudlow giving their response.
Sandra, back to you.
A lot of people might be shocked by that.
The judge apologized to this guy who's a killer, who, if he had gotten another couple yards, would have sprayed the whole audience in the Correspondents' Center. I mean, would have just sprayed him and killed God knows how many, and then would have marched up and taken a shot over the whole audience at the president. And we're apologizing to this guy? I don't get that.
Well, it just turns out Fox News' Sandra Smith was correct. A lot of people might be shocked by that. Her co-host for the day, filling in for Bill Hemmer, was the first person to speak up in a shocked tone of voice. A lot of people were, No, I don't have any idea if Sandra Smith is going for a Nobel Prize for understatement. I'd probably vote for her at this point. But buddy, it's getting deep. I know, I need boots. So we've talked from time to time about the fact that liberal media personalities and liberal politicians keep on saying the most horrible things about conservatives, about Republicans, about the president, and act shocked when their fans are inspired by the bad things they've said to go out and try to actually kill somebody. May I give you an example from over on CNN? Michigan Democrat State Senator Mallory McMorrow seems to be encouraging the next would-be assassin. It went like this.
Just to follow up on that question, do you personally see parallels between Nazi Germany and what's happening under the Trump administration?
Yeah, I do. It is deeply concerning that we see an authoritarian slide, and as we talked about earlier, dividing people against each other to convince people that if you're not doing well economically, it's somebody else's fault is an incredibly dangerous place for us to be in. I don't think that a lot of people would argue that there are shades of authoritarianism here that we need to be deeply concerned about.
She sees correlations between the way the Trump administration is acting and the way that Hitler's Third Reich Nazi regime acted. I haven't seen any boxcars loading up Jews to take them to concentration camps. I haven't seen the first one. But the guy at CNN isn't going to ask her for any specifics. He was encouraging her. They probably fed him the question to give to her. See where I'm going with this? Now, coming up out of the top of the hour news at 5, we will have the results of a huge mistake that Tucker Carlson recently made. he consented to an interview with a New York Times reporter. He shouldn't have known that. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. Anyway, that's coming up. We'll have some audio from that coming up out of the top of the hour news at 5. Between now and then, what to do with how the illegal aliens are getting over on us. There's a lot going on. The Doc Washburn Show on a Monday as we continue. Spit it out, Doc, as we continue on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
Gill podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Actually lowering prices has rarely ever been an accomplishment a Democrat could even claim. The Democrat modus operandi is to use each crisis as an excuse to pass legislation which increases spending, gives more power to the government, and which will make new crises which they can't then use as an excuse to pass more horrible legislation.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Estate planning lawyer and CPA Bob Carlson has been called America's #1 retirement expert. Tens of thousands of American retirees trust his advice, but his latest bombshell sounds almost too good to be true. It's a way to boost Social Security income and collect more on every Social Security check and create a lifetime monthly income stream 100% tax-free. So today, Bob has made it his mission to give retirees and future retirees the full story in a free report. Log on now to retirementwatchreport.com to get yours. This retirement strategy is fully approved by the IRS, even though less than 1% of Americans know enough to use it. Nobel Prize-winning economist and MIT professor Robert Merton predicts this strategy will become one of the key ways to fund retirement in the future. Log on to retirementwatchreport.com to get your free report. That's retirementwatchreport.com. retirementwatchreport.com.
You served behind the desk. You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted. You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you. When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
I'm Ferenc Tove, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. I use common sense as an entrepreneur, financial literacy educator, and speaker to understand how current events affect our money, our economy, and our freedom. Grow your money safely, reduce taxes, increase returns, and create positive arbitrage with Your Personal Bank. Tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show, Saturdays at 1 p.m., or contact Ferenc at yourpersonalbank.com. The Your Personal Bank Show, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer.
Washburn Show continues, where you can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. The great Spitfire over on X reminds us all. Judge Zia Faruqi signed arrest warrants for hundreds of January 6 hostages while slandering them. Now he's apologizing to Cole Allen for his treatment in jail. Faruqi is an activist judge who should be removed from the bench yesterday. And before I forget, Enrique Tarrio, who was given, I think, a 22-year sentence, even though he was not at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. He said, we January 6ers were treated much worse, and we made such a big issue about it that we changed the living conditions in the D.C. jail So this Cole Allen guy is living in better conditions than we were because we actually created the change that he's enjoying now. He also attempted a murder-suicide at mass scale. So this judge is completely wrong to say he isn't a suicide risk. He went there with the intention of dying. That is the definition of suicide. Yeah, I think I kind of alluded to that, like suicide by cop. Right? So, having said that, if I may, that Michigan state senator we had right before the break who was saying, oh, yeah, Trump administration reminds me of the Nazis. The great conservative talk show host Eric Erickson out of Atlanta said for Democrats, everybody's a Nazi except for the guy with the actual Nazi tattoo who hates the Jews. Do you realize the Democrat nominee for U.S. Senate out of Maine is an actual Nazi? He had an actual Nazi tattoo on his chest, and not just any Nazi tattoo. The specific tattoo for the SS guards at the concentration camps who killed the Jews. You got all the Democrats circling the wagon around this guy. Yeah, including Democrats who are ethnically Jewish, like Schumer and Bernie Sanders. Oh, yeah, he's a great guy, man. He went through some tough times earlier in life. Really? So that's how you guys are going to play it now. That's insane. There's no excuse. There's no way of sugarcoating this. You can't get around it. All right, now, having said that, we're going to talk about the illegals. The great Dan Holloway, host of the Drinking Bros and Citizen podcasts, saying why the U.S. Treasury should act now to punish banks, check cashers, and money transfer companies for helping illegal immigrants. Here we go. Right now, in 2026, under Trump, we're cracking down on immigration, but illegals can still use banks and send money home easily. Treasury Department can fix this with new rules. Here's a simple breakdown. First, Treasury oversees banks, FDIC protected ones, and money services like check cashing spots. If they cash over $1,000 a day per person, and remittance firms like Western Union that send money abroad. Treasury Department makes rules to stop money laundering and terrorism funding, okay? Current rules. Before opening an account or doing big transactions, these places must check your ID. They ask for name, birthday, address, and a number like Social Security number for Americans or passport details for other folks. They verify with things like driver's license or passport. But there's no rule saying you have to prove you're a U.S. citizen or legal resident of the U.S. Undocumented folks can use foreign IDs or tax numbers to get by. For sending money out of the U.S., they check for sanctions and report big or suspicious moves, but not immigration status. So what's the Treasury Department's power in all this? Well, laws like the Bank Secrecy Act let them change ID rules. So Treasury Department under Scott Bessent, Trump's guy, could add a requirement for proof of citizenship or legal status if it's linked to stopping crimes like dirty money. They've done similar updates before, most recently just last year. Punishments? Treasury Department can fine places up to $500,000 per mistake, shut them down, or cut off their banking access if they break the rules. If new rules ban serving undocumented people, illegal aliens, breaking that would mean big penalties. Yeah, I'd say $500,000. That's a big penalty. So what's new? Trump paused some reporting rules for U.S. businesses. They made ID checks easier in some ways, delayed rules for investment firms, started requiring citizenship information for real estate deals, cut funds to sanctuary cities that protect immigrants. So far, so good. Trump also blocked illegals from tax credits and health programs. Trump pushed for electronic payments and fair banking, but nothing yet directly punishing banks for serving the undocumented, the illegal aliens. Big money for deportations, but not for this yet. Now, if Treasury Department does change the rules, it would stop a lot of money from leaving the U.S. It would also make it harder for the undocumented, for the illegal alien to do banking and might face complaints about fairness. Undocumented pay taxes and work, but this could push them out. Well, good. Dan Holloway says, my take, Treasury should make a rule right away, require proof of legal status, and punish those who don't check. This plugs a big hole in border control. Use emergency powers if needed. Yeah, that's strong. And he tags the president and the Secretary of Homeland Security and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and he says, tighten the rules on banks and money services for illegal immigrants now. Remove the financial abilities, just like you're doing for Cuba. You know, one of the wonderful things about the fact that Elon Musk paid $44 billion with a B dollars to buy Twitter and make it into X is that you got a lot of information out there now that might have been censored under the old ownership. And I come across folks who are experts in different segments of society, and it's fascinating. We're sitting here going, man, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, that's strong. That's what needs to happen. Now, coming up out of the top of the hour news at 5 Central, we're going to have the results, the fruit of a mistake Tucker Carlson made. He should not have agreed to do an interview with a New York Times reporter. It did not go well for him, but that's okay. Frankly, I find it hilarious. More coming up straight ahead as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A U.S.-led task force tells ships to reroute on the first day of a new effort to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, while Iran issues a statement telling ships to coordinate with Iranian officials.
The United States is launching an effort to guide stranded ships from the Iran-gripped Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has recommended they route through Omani waters south of where ships usually transit the waterway. The US urged mariners to coordinate closely with the Mali authorities due to anticipated high traffic volume passing through the alternative route. Meanwhile, Iran's military command issued a statement read out on state television on Monday, stating that ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz must coordinate with them. I'm Karen Chemas.
A driver has fatally hit pedestrians in Germany.
Authorities say that a driver plowed into people in the center of the German city of Leipzig, leaving 2 people dead, 2 others seriously injured. The driver stopped the car himself and was in the vehicle at the time he was detained. Leipzig is one of the biggest cities in eastern Germany. The incident occurred on a street that leads to the city's shopping district. No word yet on a motive. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
California's top insurance regulator says the state is seeking millions of dollars in penalties from State Farm after an investigation found the insurance company violated state laws while handling claims from the 2025 Los Angeles area wildfires. The investigation launched last June found that the state's largest home insurer was delaying and mishandling claims regarding damage to survivors' homes and possible contamination from smoke from the Palisades and Eaton fires. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 557 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
With your news flash, John Loretta, 101.1 The Answer. University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences has launched a new program. It is the Arkansas First Nurse Midwifery Program. It aims to address the state's maternal health crisis. The program will provide support for mothers and newborns. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders plans a special legislative session to cut taxes. Lawmakers are looking at further reducing income taxes and corporate taxes. This follows the signing of the state's budget for the fiscal year 2027, totaling $6.7 billion. 2 groups are pushing to eliminate the state income tax entirely in Arkansas. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs with no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. John Loretta with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash with your national headlines. I'm Tony Desiri.
Arkansas baseball will return to the diamond Friday as they begin a 3-game series against Oklahoma with 6 games left on the regular season before the SEC tournament. The Razorbacks taking 2 of 3 from Ole Miss. Sunday, they beat the Rebels 5-4, now at 32-17, 13-11 in the SEC. The St. Louis Cardinals are home at Busch Stadium tonight, beginning a 3-game series with Milwaukee in a divisional matchup. It'll be Kyle Leahy getting the start. He's 3-3. Milwaukee countering with Chad Patrick. He's 2-1. St. Louis fell Sunday to the Dodgers 4-1, but they still took 2 of 3 in the series. In golf, Cameron Young won the Cadillac Championship at Doral Sunday, finishing at 19 under par. And that was good for a 6-shot win over world number 1 Scotty Scheffler. It was his 2nd victory of the season. The Sports Update brought to you by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. With a look at your national headlines, I'm Tony Desiri on the Sports Flash.
There is a big event coming, and you need to mark your calendars. It's the Central Arkansas Business Expo coming May 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Benton Event Center. You'll be able to connect with local businesses, discover new opportunities, grow your network all in one place. And here's the best part. Enjoy a free catfish lunch sponsored by First Service Bank in Benton. Great business, great connections, and great catfish. Don't miss it at the Benton Event Center, May 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll see you there.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Here at 101.1 The Answer, we're dedicated to you. Yeah, we talk about the issues that matter most and provide unique insights so that you'll be as informed as possible. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know, he'd chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons, 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where you can sound off and talk back at 101. No, that's not how it works. 501-401-1011. Sorry, sometimes I'm so used to saying things that I got other stuff going on in my mind while I'm giving you the phone number for the 40 billionth time. Tucker Carlson was the most watched Fox News Channel host. I agreed with him most of the time, not always, but most of the time. I was very upset when they took him off the air. But ever since he went off the air and started his own deal, he's getting stranger and stranger and stranger. So let's go with, we're going to mix it up this time. Can we start with Tucker Carlson, New York Times interview, cut 2? Can we do cut 2 first? Okay, let's go with cut 2.
JD has been subject to, this is well known, but I'll just confirm it, nonstop treachery from people on the neoconservative side.
Who are these people?
Around Marco Rubio. And they have been totally against JD Vance from the very beginning.
Who do you mean specifically?
You know, I don't know is the real answer. I don't know.
Accusing people of treachery, so I'm wondering.
Well, I know there's been a lot of treachery for sure. And I know they were so mad about JD getting that job. I mean,
who's they? Within the White House?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never worked there. So like, if you don't work there, you can say, you can say what you think you know, but it's hard to really know.
This is me looking skeptical.
Yeah, well, no, but it's me being honest. Like, I don't really know.
In 45 seconds, he goes to, it's widely known, but I'll confirm it. JD Vance has been the subject of treachery, especially by people surrounding Marco Rubio, who were outraged when he became vice president. She's like, well, who are these people? Oh, I don't know. I'm skeptical. Well, I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. In 45 seconds, he goes to confirming something he says is widely known to going, who knows? Beats me. I think there might be something wrong with Tucker Carlson. If you're thinking maybe there's not something wrong with Tucker Carlson, then I would welcome you to rewind the tape. And if you're listening live on the radio, you can't do that. But if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, you can definitely rewind it. And just listen again to what he just said, what he just did. And just a regular liberal New York Times reporter is like, well, who are you talking about? Oh, I don't know. Well, you just confirmed something you said was widely known. Yeah, but I'm just being honest. I don't know. Come on, man. Give me a break. Megyn Kelly, remember her? Also Fox News back in the day. She's saying, oh, Tucker just did a great job. And anybody who thinks he didn't, well, I guess it's a problem with because you support Israel and he doesn't. He's thinking about Israel. I'm confirming what's well known. Oh, really? Who? I don't know. I'm skeptical. I'm just being honest. You're being honest. You never would have said in the first place something that you cannot at all in any way back up. Okay, Tucker Carlson, New York Times interview, cut one, please.
I don't do monologues, so that's ad lib. So that's just, I didn't write it. I don't have notes. It's just like, that's how I feel. So it's probably not as coherent as it should be.
Okay, now, if you were listening before the top of the hour news, remember Dan Holloway, also a podcast guy, who had just a great idea about how the Treasury Department can change the rules and make life very difficult for illegals here. The same Dan Holloway, in response to Tucker Carlson telling the New York Times reporter that he doesn't use writers, he doesn't use teleprompters, his monologues are all just ad lib. Dan Holloway says, I have sat in Tucker Carlson's studio in Boca Grande, Florida, and watched him read from a teleprompter. And of course, if you ever thought about it, and most people don't, but I'm in broadcasting. If you ever thought about it, if you ever paid attention when he was on Fox News, it was pretty obvious that he was good at it. Don't get me wrong, but he was reading from his monologue from a teleprompter. It's not like Sean, where you can tell he's reading for a teleprompter because he always sounds like he is reading from a teleprompter. No. Tucker was smooth. He's smooth. Now remember, this is the same Tucker who says he doesn't think that Hamas is a terrorist organization. They're more like a political organization. That Tucker. The same Tucker who has been talking about how wonderful Islam is and how wonderful Sharia law is and all that stuff. That Tucker. Now, don't take my word for it. You can look it up. It's easy to find. Easy to find. Because I know there's somebody with the sound of my voice right now who is saying, wait a minute. He said, what? Yep, that's true. He certainly did. All right, now, all that having been said, let's just see, are there any updates about the Secret Service shooting less than a mile away from the White House today? Well, Susan Crabtree, Real Clear Politics national political correspondent, has an update that she dropped just 4 minutes ago. Did I ever mention nobody else is talking about this on talk radio in the afternoon, especially in Little Rock? I don't mind blowing my own horn. Update from 4 minutes ago, Susan Crabtree. A juvenile bystander was shot, but not critically injured, in an exchange between Secret Service officers and an armed man near the White House complex Monday afternoon, according to the Secret Service. At least one Secret Service uniformed division officer shot and apprehended the suspect Monday afternoon before President Trump's press conference, according to Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn. The suspect and the juvenile are both now at George Washington Hospital. No uniformed division officers were shot or hurt. Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn did not say whether the juvenile was a boy or a girl and what type of injuries the child suffered. At a press conference late Monday afternoon, Matt Quinn told reporters, quote, I can tell you that at least one bystander, we believe only one, was hit by the suspect. The individual is a juvenile, did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, and is also receiving treatment at the hospital. Secret Service Matt Quinn said an investigation is underway. But so far, the agency could not say whether the child was hit by the suspect or the Secret Service officer although he noted that, quote, everything I've seen leads me to believe the juvenile was struck by the suspect, unquote. Deputy Director Matt Quinn also noted that Vice President J.D. Vance's motorcade had driven through that area not long before the shooting, though the suspect didn't appear to have attacked or targeted the motorcade. At approximately 3:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday, so that would have been about a half hour before, about an hour and a half before we went on the air, Secret Service patrols spotted a suspicious individual who appeared to have a gun. Patrol officers located and confronted him, and the suspect fled briefly on foot, then withdrew a firearm and fired in the direction of the Secret Service agents and officers, according to Deputy Director Matt Quinn. At least one Secret Service officer then opened fire on the suspect, shot, and apprehended him. Deputy Director Matt Quinn said, these are trained surveillance detection personnel looking every day for just that. Oh, that's good. Because we know that Jason Chaffetz said on average they get about 30 minutes of training a year. So they're on top of it. He said they observed a visual print of a firearm not far from the White House complex. And of course, the Secret Service has recovered the suspect's firearm. Okay, I mean, as long as we're on the air, we'll continue to update you on what's going on there, because I think it's interesting to note that if you look at the U.S. Secret Service Office Communications website, they don't have the update. But they've already done the press conference, and Susan Crabtree at Real Clear Politics, she has the update. I ain't gonna lie, fam. You got to know where to look. You just have to know where to look. All right. Having said all that, let's see if we can go back to the audio clips. So, yeah, we got one more. We definitely have one more. U.S. Representative Harriet Hageman is a very unusual person. She is great. She's conservative. I say she's very unusual because she actually defeated an incumbent member of Congress in the party primary, not the general election, in the party primary. So let me explain this to you. Wyoming is a very sparsely populated state. They got about 500,000 people. To put into context, Arkansas has more than 3 million people. So Arkansas has 4 U.S. congressmen. We have 4 congressional districts, each one represented by a U.S. representative. French Hill, Bruce Westerman, Rick Crawford, Steve Womack. Wyoming has such a low population that they only have 1 member of the U.S. House. And they probably always will. So Liz Cheney was that member. And Liz Cheney stuck her thumb in the Republicans' eyes so often that her people, Republican voters of Wyoming, were like, hey, is somebody going to challenge her? So Harriet Hageman, member of the Wisconsin legislature, the state legislature, said, yeah, I'll challenge her in the next congressional primary. And she beat her, I think, by 30 points. Just keel-hauled Liz Cheney, if I may use that term in present company. It's a nautical. No, we don't want to get into the specifics, but it's a metaphor. I just do that. Anyway, now Harriet Hageman is so popular in Wyoming that incumbent U.S. Senator is retiring, and she is running for U.S. Senate. And I'm sure, as red a state as Wyoming is, she'll be U.S. Senator, come this January. Anyway, U.S. Representative Harriet Hageman is talking about that Charlottesville, Virginia violent protest that made conservatives and Trump supporters look really bad. And the whole thing was fomented by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So U.S. Representative Harriet Hageman brings the receipts on the SPLC.
The rally in Charlottesville several years ago,
2017, yeah.
in 2017, that was funded and organized by SPLC. They paid the guy who did that $270,000. That wasn't
the actual organizer of the entire event.
Of that event, the one that has been the basis for screaming that Donald Trump is a racist because he allegedly said there's good people on both sides. First of all, that's not what he said. They've always taken out of context and misinterpreted and misrepresented what he said. Number one. But number two, it was this SPLC that organized, provided transportation for, and paid the person who did it $270,000. So I don't call that infiltration. I call that being actively involved in the organization.
Exactly. Now, how horrifying is it for you that the Brit who's sitting there trying to interview her doesn't seem to have any idea what she's talking about? I mean, you're a reporter. Come on, man. Big news recently. The fact that you're a Brit, not an American, is no excuse because you're talking to an American politician. Okay? So, oh, by the way, breaking right now, Susan Crabtree, national political correspondent, Real Clear Politics, has embedded video from C-SPAN of the Secret Service deputy director talking about the shooting near the White House this afternoon. She says, "Where's Secret Service Director Sean Curran?" I don't know, man. Maybe he's taking an early dinner or a late lunch or just mixing the two. You think that might be possible? All right. Now, that having been said, we have some distressing news. And the Arkansas Democrat Gazette does what a lot of newspapers do all over the country. They just reprint an article from the Associated Press, which is painfully liberal, but the Demgaz doesn't care. So this dropped a little over 4.5 hours ago. Supreme Court restores access to abortion pill mifepristone through telehealth, mail, and pharmacies. That's really not good. So we'll tell you what the AP said, and then we'll also have some editorial comment on that. And again, our friend Sarah Ward, pro-life activist, was on talking about this a little bit ago when the Fifth Circuit decided to put a moratorium on people being able to get this abortion pill, mifepristone, through the mail while waiting for the actual case to be decided. So, Associated Press and the Demgaz, Washington Dateline. The Supreme Court on Monday restored broad access to the abortion pill mifepristone, blocking a ruling that had threatened to upend one of the main ways abortions are provided across the nation. The order, signed by Judge Samuel Alito, temporarily allows women seeking abortions to obtain the pill at pharmacies or through the mail without an in-person visit to a doctor. Those rules have been in effect for several years under a federal appeals court imposed new restrictions. I think I misread that. Those rules had been in effect for several years until a federal appeals court imposed new restrictions last week. The majority of abortions in the U.S. are obtained through medications, usually a combination of mifepristone and a second drug, misoprostol. Says who? I mean, that may be true, but we're just supposed to take the Associated Press's word for it? Well, the Democrat Gazette sure does. The availability of those drugs has blunted the impact of abortion bans that most Republican-led states have sought to enforce since a 2022 Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade. Interesting, they don't mention the name of the ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade. It was the Dobbs decision. Louisiana sued to restrict access to mifepristone, asserting that its availability undermined the abortion ban there. Some Democrat-led states have laws that seek to give legal protection to those who prescribe the drugs via telehealth to patients in states with bans. I wonder if they're going to mention that people can just get it through the mail without a prescription. I wonder if they're going to mention that. Justice Alito's order will remain in effect for another week while both sides respond and the court more fully considers the issue. Manufacturers of mifepristone filed emergency appeals asking the Supreme Court to step in. Kristen Hawkins, president of the anti-abortion group Students for Life, decried Monday's decision. I can't believe the AP is giving a commentary from the other side on this. In a statement, she said, pill pushers receive every benefit of the doubt, including today, as Justice Alito allows pill traffickers and Big Pharma to operate temporarily while arguments are sent to the court. The AP says after Friday's ruling from the appeals court, some groups that prescribe abortion pills by telehealth had planned to switch to misoprostol-only regimens. Dr. Angel Foster, founder of the Massachusetts Abortion Access Project, said her organization was preparing to send misoprostol only on Monday afternoon, but was able to switch back. She said, regardless of what happens with this regulatory issue, we and other groups will continue to provide high-quality abortion care to patients in all 50 states, unquote. Well, she's lying through her teeth because, of course, killing babies is not health care. That's number one. And number two, there have been many cases of women who take the abortion drug that they got through the mail and show up with all kinds of hemorrhaging, all kinds of terrible side effects at an ER, and they don't know why they're experiencing this because they weren't warned that this could happen to them. But these people don't care. It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the money, number one, and about, in my humble opinion, and you're entitled to it, their lust for the blood of the innocent. They like the idea of killing babies. So, it was odd that it was Justice Alito that signed the stay, which may only be in effect for a week today, because he has always been one of the staunchest justices against abortion, one of the staunchest pro-life guys on the U.S. Supreme Court ever, Alito and Clarence Thomas. So we'll see what happens with that. But we do have another local story coming up. Little Rock man sentenced to 40 years for battering second girlfriend faces charges for abusing third. What? Doc Washburn Show continues, Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Supreme Court has restored broad access to the abortion pill mifepristone, blocking a ruling that had threatened to upend one of the main ways abortion is provided across the nation. The order issued Monday allows women seeking abortions to obtain the pill at pharmacies or through the mail without an in-person visit to a doctor. Lawmakers in several southern states are meeting this week to consider redistricting plans in response to a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that weakened the Voting Rights Act. Republican Alabama Governor Kay Ivey called legislators into a special session on Monday, which could enable a new date for congressional primaries. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee has announced a special session starting Tuesday to redraw that state's U.S. House districts. More details available at srnnews.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven you can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-40.
We're keeping Arkansas beautiful. Want to lend a hand? Don't be afraid to get them dirty. Every day, volunteers around the state are picking up litter, planting trees and wildflowers, recycling, and more. You know what these volunteers need most? Help. Volunteer today at keeparkansasbeautiful.com. Learn more about all our programs. A message brought to you by the Keep Arkansas Beautiful Commission, this station, and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your morning with a voice you know and trust. Dave Ellswick, bringing you the issues that matter to Arkansas, the news behind the headlines, and conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Then in the afternoon, stay informed and fired up with Doc Washburn, breaking down the biggest stories of the day and what they mean for you. And all day long, hear from some of the biggest voices in talk radio. CNN's Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and Larry Elder, bringing you sharp insight, lively debate, and the perspective you've been looking for. News, opinion, insight, and the conversations shaping our community. From Little Rock to the Natural State and beyond. This is 101.1 The Answer. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Are you about to turn 65 and you're confused about Medicare? Hi, it's Doc Washburn. My friend Tammy Chase is a local Medicare enrollment specialist who meets with you in person and makes it simple. Tammy takes the time to understand your needs. She walks you through every option in plain language that's easy to understand. There's no confusion and no pressure, just expert help you can trust. Call my friend Tammy Chase for expert help in making it easy. Tell her Doc sent you. TammyChaseInsurance.com. 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. Read the sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. We're just keeping an eye. We're just keeping an eye on the story of the shooting less than a mile away from the White House. And we'll give you the updates. Well, I got an update right now, and then we got to get to the local story of the guy in really, really hot water for allegedly being violent to significant others, if I may use that term, present company. All right, Susan Crabtree just dropped this at Real Clear Politics. It's on their website, realclearpolitics.com. Juvenile shot in crossfire between Secret Service officer and shooter. Real short little article here. Juvenile bystander was shot but not critically injured in an exchange between Secret Service officers and an armed man near the White House complex Monday afternoon, according to the Secret Service. Secret Service Uniform Division officer shot and apprehended the suspect near the Washington Monument Monday afternoon while President Trump was holding a business meeting at the White House, according to Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn. Sources said the suspect and juvenile are now at George Washington Hospital. No Uniform Division officers were shot or hurt. Quinn did not say whether the juvenile was a boy or a girl or what type of injuries the child suffered. Okay, well, this is just an update. This is just an update of what she'd already tweeted out, and then she kind of copied and pasted it into an article. Great job, great reporter. I'm just very concerned. John Lynch over the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. We have shared his local stories with you before. Headline: Little Rock man sentenced to 40 years for battering second girlfriend faces charges for abusing third. I don't think Buddy's getting the point here. Some tell me. And I oftentimes wonder how guys like this can take advantage of women and gain their trust, and then you find out that they like to beat them up. I don't know. I guess some people are naive, and I hope that his victims get the help they need. Well, what else can I say? Anyway, John Lynch, Arkansas Democrat Gazette, says a 30-year-old Little Rock man accused of physically abusing his girlfriend, including times when she was pregnant. Come on, man. Gee whiz. While on parole for abusing a previous girlfriend, has accepted a 40-year prison term. Well, I guess there's a guy. There's a guy who's thinking, you know what? I like bologna sandwiches, and they don't have to be fried. And I'm good. I'm good with bologna on white bread. If I get some mayo or mustard, maybe a slice of American cheese, that's just all good, man. See now, and look, I'm not trying to judge, but to me, I don't want a bologna sandwich unless it's fried. And frankly, I've kind of avoided that for many, many years. But if I got to have a bologna sandwich, can we please make the 4 cuts in it and then fry it? You know what I'm talking about. Put a little bit of cheese on there, mustard, mayo if you insist, I don't know. And I'd probably use wheat bread instead of white bread, but I'm not trying to be judgmental, but 40 years? Sure, yeah, I'll take that. How often do I get bologna sandwiches? Well, it depends on what jail you wind up in, buddy. Okay, but I mean, usually most of them, yeah, Varner, Supermax, whatever. You get bologna sandwiches. Okay, I'm down. But I digress. I guess you're used to that by now. John Lynch, Democrat Gazette, continues the article. Even as he began, you know how hungry I am. That fried bologna sandwich is starting to sound pretty good. I'm sorry. I apologize. You're like, Doc, are you going to finish the story before I get in the driveway? Come on, man. I'm on my way home. All right. Even as he begins this sentence, Pulaski County prosecutors have charged Gabriel Dioncio Castaneda. Well, daggone, man, I'm thinking with a name like that, he might not be from around here. Prosecutors have charged Pulaski County, Gabriel Dioncio Castaneda, with more domestic violence counts involving a third girlfriend. Castaneda pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree domestic battering for the 40-year sentence imposed by Judge Melanie Martin, according to sentencing papers filed last week. As a repeat offender, Castaneda faced anywhere from 10 years to 160 years. You know what I'm thinking? Because I guarantee you, they're not going to cover that in this article. I wonder if the guy's an illegal. All right, work with me on this. If Buddy is an illegal, and say, for instance, maybe he's not here from Mexico. Maybe he's not here from Nicaragua or Guatemala. Maybe he's not here from Panama. Maybe it's not Belize. What's the one I've left out so far? Maybe he's here illegally from El Salvador, and he knows what Bukele is doing down there. And he's like, I don't care what Supermax, Varner, whatever is like in Arkansas. It's not going to be as bad as the lockup back home in El Salvador. I'll take 40 years and bologna sandwiches. I don't even want to be like, I'm just saying, I could be way off. Maybe he's here from Bolivia or somewhere, but if he's from El Salvador, 40 years, sure, piece of cake. Happy to. Anyway. No. That's the problem. I get to thinking about things. Under the plea agreement negotiated by Deputy Prosecutor Weston Sizemore, it looks almost like a steakhouse chain. Oh, no, that was Western Sizzlin'. I'm sorry. No. Weston, W-E-S-T-O-N, not E-R-N-O-N. Weston Sizemore. Sorry, I'm hungry. Under the plea agreement negotiated by Deputy Prosecutor Weston Sizemore and defense attorney Daniel Marks, a felony domestic battering charge claiming Castaneda slapped the woman's 10-year-old son was dropped. No, that's wrong. No, I'm sorry. That's wrong. Shouldn't have dropped that. According to police reports and court records, Castaneda pleaded no contest to his first domestic battering charge, a misdemeanor, for a May 2014 assault on his then 19-year-old girlfriend, Jacqueline Rodriguez. He received a 6-month suspended jail sentence. Excuse me. No, domestic battery, you shouldn't get suspended sentence. The following November 2014, Castaneda was arrested and charged with 2 counts of felony domestic battering for striking Rodriguez during an argument at his family home. They got the address. They got the address in here. Okay. 8406 Seymour Drive. I'm wondering why that wasn't what's the word? Redacted. That's crazy. He also assaulted his own brother, Eric Castaneda, when he tried to intervene. All right, big ups, big props to Eric. That means at least there's some decent people in the family. Rodriguez, who has a daughter with Castaneda, reported he hit and grabbed her. So the uncle of the little girl is trying to intervene, saying, hey. Police documented a bloody scratch on Rodriguez's throat and contusions on the brother, Eric Castaneda. Both declined medical treatment, but told officers that Gabriel Castaneda, quote, does this all the time, unquote. Arresting officers described Gabriel Castaneda as resentful and combative. Okay, wait. Does that mean that he was resisting arrest? Combative. Because again, if he's resisting arrest, I wonder if they train LRPD on how to deliver a pile driver. Or at least a good old uppercut. I mean, something. So Gabriel Castaneda pleaded guilty to the felony charges in May 2015 and received probation. Received probation? Have there ever been any prosecuting attorneys in Biloxi County who were like actually tough on violent crime? Probation. Oh, let me guess. Oh, it doesn't count because they're Hispanics? Come on, man. They're human beings. Give me a break. 6 weeks later, Gabriel Castaneda arrested again on the kidnapping and domestic battering charges that resulted in his first prison sentence, a 35-year term. Well, finally, in June 2015, a report stated that Gabriel Castaneda had abducted Rodriguez and their infant daughter. Witnesses told police that Castaneda grabbed Rodriguez by her hair, pulling her out of the house and into his car. His sister and father tried to stop him, but he physically resisted their efforts to stop him. They were unable to keep him from leaving. Somebody should have put a couple of pellets into him, you know? While police were at the scene questioning witnesses, officers saw Gabriel Castaneda drive by and took off after him, resulting in a high-speed chase that ended when he eluded his pursuers. Okay, that was 2015. Now, I don't know if you ever watch any of those police chase videos, if that comes up on the algorithm on your YouTube, but I think they got a way of keeping up with you these days, even if you are no longer visible. Have you ever noticed somebody will be chasing somebody up 430 or up 30 or whatever, and they get off on an exit way up ahead, and then the cops get off on the exit, and they know which neighborhood to drive into, even though they didn't see which neighborhood the guy went into, and they never talk about it. But they got some kind of technology now that they didn't have in 2015. I'm just saying. Because the guys never actually get away from them. And Lord knows, it's not like Pulaski County is using a helicopter. I mean, they got them, but they don't use them. Anyway. While police were at the scene questioning witnesses, officers saw Castaneda drive by, took off after him, resulted in a high-speed chase, ended when he eluded his pursuers. Officers eventually arrested Castaneda and found Rodriguez 6 hours later. Rodriguez later tried unsuccessfully to have Castaneda's name removed from their daughter's birth certificate, stating that he had, quote, no regard for the well-being, unquote, of the child. Castaneda was paroled 7 years later, October 2023. Wait. No. He got a 35-year term, was paroled after 7 years? That's jacked up, bro. No, I've got more because this just gets more and more insane, and we'll get to it coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues. Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
RedState.com captures the pulse of grassroots conservatism. Red State staff of contributors are on top of breaking news with stories and analysis that challenge the established agenda. RedState.com educates, motivates, and activates passionate conservatives across America, arming them with the facts that put them ahead of the political curve. No wonder RedState.com is a must-read for elected officials and for citizens who want to make their vote count. RedState.com is the place where influence meets action. Log on to RedState.com today.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk. You're
doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. With its decision in Louisiana v. Calais, the Supreme Court took the United States one step closer to the race-blind, colorblind, equal opportunity society envisioned by our Constitution. The ruling shifts voting rights law from judging maps by racial outcomes toward a simpler question: whether lawmakers intentionally discriminated. This is as it should be. Today, there are a record 58 minority members of Congress. Most were elected from plurality white districts. America twice elected an African-American president. These aren't the marks of a nation closed to candidates of color. Ending racial gerrymandering encourages leaders to focus on ideas and results rather than skin color. By rejecting racial line drawing, the Supreme Court affirmed a vital truth. In 21st century America, skin color isn't what defines us. Our convictions and our character do. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where you can sound off, talk back at 501-401-1011. Good grief. Arkansas Democrat Gazette. John Lynch reporting on this guy. Little Rock man sentenced to 40 years for battering second girlfriend, faces charges for abusing third. What on earth? The probe by Detective Dylan Madison that led to Castaneda's 40-year sentence began February last year when 34-year-old Carla Alfaro went to police reporting that Castaneda, the father of her infant daughter, had been regularly beating her for months while she was pregnant, beginning in May 2024. Ms. Alfaro explained she was afraid of him, and he would always talk her out of calling the police. The first abusive incident, she claimed, was in May 2024 after an angry Castaneda called off a gender reveal party. He abruptly reversed a vehicle, striking his sister's car, and blamed Alfaro. After forcing her to cancel the party, Castaneda turned violent when they got to her home, punching her arms, telling her everything was her fault, hitting her, and tearing up things in the apartment. She said he later grew repentant and tearful, promising he would never abuse her again. Yeah, don't believe that. A week later, Castaneda became violent again after a family baptism. Oh, great timing. While driving back, he drove erratically and then punched her in the arm while blaming her for the cost of gas. Okay, now wait a minute. She got something to do with the oil companies? At her place, he threw food in her face and struck her again after seeing a text he misconstrued. Castaneda refused to let her go to the hospital, apologized again, and blamed the, quote, devil, unquote, for his outbursts. Well, he kind of sounds like the devil himself. Later, while driving them to Benton, he hit a construction barrier with her car, blamed her for the crash, hitting her on her already injured arms. Photographs from this attack showed an obscene amount of bruising to her arms, back, and chest. 3 weeks later, Alfaro said her 10-year-old son, who's nonverbal with autism, bless his heart, he probably got a vaccine, somehow upset Castaneda during a July 2024 car ride. So the man slapped the boy, leaving raised red marks on the right side of the child's face. 10-year-old. Yeah, a big, tough guy. I hope he meets some bigger, tougher guys in prison. Anyway, the day before Thanksgiving 2024, Alfaro reported Castaneda grew angry and followed her upstairs, where she had taken their 15-day-old newborn. Castaneda, she said, began swinging a cable from an infant swing at her. Alfaro positioned herself to shield the baby, and Castaneda hit her hand twice. He then punched her in the face, causing her nose to bleed, and later attempted to punch her again. He forced her to stay with him, threatening her. Alfaro left early the next morning with her sister's help. The next physical incident, January 2025, over missing muffler parts for his vehicle. When Alfaro tried to leave, Castaneda threatened to drag her back inside, grabbing her collar. She returned out of fear that Castaneda would take off with the children. Inside, he grabbed her and threw her to the floor. He seized a metal rod, threatening to beat anyone who entered to help her, and explicitly told her she was not permitted to leave. The standoff ended when police and Alfaro's sister arrived. A few days later, she went to police, showing emails from him and noting he had threatened to kill her cousins. He told her, quote, "I'll kill you before I go back to jail for any of this," unquote. January 2026, Alfaro complained to police. Castaneda was coming to her job and parking near her house despite a court order, but no arrest was made. Why does that not surprise me? Latest charges. By the time he was next arrested, Castaneda had a new girlfriend, 34-year-old Erica Vallejo. Their relationship ended in March this year. Their first documented dispute was last December when Vallejo called police to report Castaneda had thrown a hammer at her car. 2 weeks later, 2 days before Christmas, police called again after Castaneda punched Vallejo in the face, pulled her hair while driving. Police photographed scratch marks on her neck, but Castaneda was gone, was never questioned or charged. Why does this not surprise me? March 9th, officers responded to a disturbance where Castaneda had smashed the windows on Vallejo's vehicle. She admitted to retaliating by smashing the windshield of his father's vehicle. What, somebody finally fought back? 3 days later, March 12th, Vallejo called police again, reporting he was holding her against her will. Investigators reached Vallejo at her parents' house. She said Castaneda, high on meth, described as a regular drug user, lost his temper while working on his car, forced her into the house, threatened to beat her down worse than he has ever beat anyone down in his life, and held a machete an inch from her face, threatening to cut off her head. She said Castaneda further kept her from escaping throughout the night, threatening her with other tools like a small pickaxe and wrenches. Vallejo was able to call 911 the next morning. By the time the operator called back, Castaneda had walked away. Vallejo also showed police large scars, which she said occurred when Castaneda had dragged her with his car and forced her to jump from the moving vehicle. Castaneda, arrested the following day, has been jailed ever since. He's scheduled to stand trial in August. Maybe he shouldn't have been out on parole or probation or whatever. The great Dave Ellswick tomorrow morning, 7 to 6. I'm Doc Washburn. See you tomorrow at 4:06. God willing, 101.1, The Answer.
Stay